Welcome to episode 67, Style of Play Football. Myself, Theo, Basil, Kojo. What we saying, man?
Yeah, well, good man.
Yeah,
How you guys
good,
doing?
good.
Do you know what? But it's mad, Basil. I've only just clocked your top because that's where we're starting. Imagine that. Imagine that. Let's before we get into the episode, please, if you're here on YouTube, if you're here part of the live stream or even afterwards, make sure you subscribe, like the video, share thoughts in the comments. Again, if you're on the audio version of the podcast, hit the notification bell so you do not miss an episode of Style of Play. But we're gonna run it back because all three of us last week said that PSG were gonna run riot against Chelsea.
Fair,
And they
fair.
never. And they no. To be fair, it was like obviously it was a game that obviously I wanted to win, but I don't think it was a game that I expected to turn out the way that it did. I think I'll say that.
Yeah.
But Basil, what did you obviously you got to see the game, but what did you think of it? What was you shocked by I won't say the lack of effort, but just how I suppose easy at times it was for Chelsea.
Yeah, I was, to be honest. It's one of those games Chelsea could win, but I guess no one expected them to win by that margin. And just sometimes how easy they cut up PSG. And in fact, I don't think PSG, and I think Kojo said this before, I don't think PSG are the strongest defensively, because when you look at that back line, it isn't a very strong back line. I think what PSG is, they have the way they utilize the ball, the speed and transition, and just how good they are attacking, sometimes means teams don't always get the opportunities to kind of attack them as much. And when teams do, they don't really take the opportunities. And PSG are one of those teams. They punish you when they get the first goal. They don't take their foot off the gas, and so that puts pressure on you when you kind of need to chase things a little bit and take a bit more risk, because they do expose your risk when you push men more forward because of the way they play and because of how effective and dynamic their wingers are, and also not just their front line now in terms of their movement and how good they are on the ball. And I think Chelsea caught them cold, scored a few goals, and were very, very confident. And I think they just kind of exposed some of the defensive frailties that PSG had. And credit to Chelsea, because overall PSG had a few chances, but I think Chelsea defended well as a unit throughout the entire game. So it's one of those games I give Hulk terms of their tactics, how they set up, the way they played. So it's one of those matches. It's a one-off final. Anything can happen, but credit to Chelsea. I thought they were very exceptional on the day, and obviously Cole Palmer once again standing up and being counted. And I guess and it goes back to finish up on this point. It goes back to what we say. There's certain players, give them the freedom to kind of express themselves on the pitch rather than restricting them to
Yeah.
specific roles or specific instructions. You can do that to certain players who may not have the skills and the qualities to kind of do that. But for certain players, give them the freedom to kind of express themselves, and you'll see the quality that they can produce. And we saw that in Cole Palmer.
I was surprised. I'll be honest. I really was. I didn't think it was going to be. I don't want to say the game was easy because it wasn't at all by any stretch of the imagination. I think it was still a difficult game, and I think even though PSG weren't really attacking as we've got to see them do in the tournament before and last season, they still had that in the locker. They still had it. You know that given the opportunity, Doué or Dembele or Kvaratskhelia were always going to be a threat at some point, and you just had to sort of guard against that and defend well. And I think Chelsea did. But Kojo, do you think? Because some people have said Chelsea had the easy route to the final. They had relatively easy group. They had some easy games in the knockouts as well. Obviously, the Benfica game went into extra time. But do you feel that that helped Chelsea get to the final? And then obviously PSG's route was a lot more difficult. They had Real Madrid in the semis, even though they dealt with them. But do you think it was did you think that played a factor in why Chelsea got to the final and went on to win it?
Why it doesn't matter? I don't understand. People do this. I'm like, so what? Tell me what teams they get. So if they get a team, they have to beat them. No, when beat you, was it Flamengo or something that beat you, and they were posting on Twitter,
Flamengo beat us 3-1.
doing banter.
Yeah,
Yeah, calling you London Blue and stuff. And
yeah.
then because you get to the final, you win it. They give you congratulations, and you're like, "Well, I thought we were London Blue." Nah, it's not your fault. You get who you get. So the luck of the draw is the luck of the draw. I don't care. Right, oh, they beat this team, this team. Yeah. All right. Well, if you're better than Chelsea, beat them, innit? and they got to the final and beat the team that beat the hardest teams, and they didn't beat them. They smacked them in about half an hour. So to me, it doesn't matter. So yeah, no, it's just congratulations to Chelsea. All these teams that I talk about, or people that talk about easy route. Well, Chelsea don't care.
No, you're
It's-
right. You're right. I think I think that's why when people were saying it's almost like a glorified, like why are we bothered? Why is everyone caring and all that? And I get it because obviously it's more about money making and the halftime show and Michael Buffer doing it and that. Like all of that was just nonsense. Like I've been saying that from the very start that that's all nonsense. But I think when your team's in something like that, you want to see them go all the way, especially when you get into the knockout stages. Like, I'll be more annoyed if we went out at like the quarterfinals or the semis when you've done all that hard work to get out your group and then you get to the quarters and the semis and you get knocked out. If you get to that final, you have to win it. Like that's just common sense. But I think for me, I think Sanchez. I know Chelsea fans have criticised him, but even to the back end of last season when we were trying to chase that top four finish, and then we got to the Conference League final, and then we've gone into the Club World Cup. He's actually improved. I'm not saying he's a top goalkeeper, but Basil, what do you think Sanchez? Because obviously we've lost Petrovic now. Petrovic has gone to Bournemouth for 25 million, which I'm not even ready to talk about that one yet. Mike Penders, I think, is going to Strasbourg, so it looks like we're not looking likely to go back in for Mike Maignan from AC Milan. So it looks like Robert Sanchez is going to be the first choice keeper at Chelsea. Do you think he still has a lot to prove as a Chelsea number one goalkeeper?
No, and the reason why I'm saying is because
Fair
the
point.
and the reason why I'm saying is because the mistakes aren't just a Chelsea thing. They've been happening while he was at Brighton.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not as if it's a one season thing. This has been a continual thing for a number of years. So that's the fabric of your makeup. Same as when Arsenal brought in Aaron Ramsdale. Now, actually, I'll go further back. I remember when Arsenal were buying Leno. I did not want Leno whatsoever because we saw from his time in Germany he was error prone.
He was
That
awful.
doesn't leave you. It's part of the makeup of your game. And we saw it at Arsenal, error prone. Arsenal sold him. You see it at Fulham. Some of the goals he lets in, ridiculous errors. It's always going to be the fabric of your game. It's never going to change. Same as when we were buying Aaron Ramsdale. I didn't want Ramsdale because Ramsdale was error prone. And in the end, after a couple of seasons, Arsenal shifted him off to Southampton because, yes, he can make a good save. But with all those good saves, there's errors. And then you also see at Southampton last season, some of the errors he makes with some of the
Where
goals.
where is he now? Is he still at Southampton? Where is he? Where is he?
Yes, yeah, still at Southampton. And that's the thing. So I always say these one or two games or these moments where you make brilliant saves or you have a 4 or 5 game where it's good, it doesn't change the fabric of what you are. You're always going to make those errors. So I'm very Chelsea are a funny team because I've never understood how what modern day teams are doing, where they never address the issues that need addressing first, and they're so fascinated with signing players in positions that are no priority. And Chelsea are the same. For me, I would have thought when the season ended, the first thing Chelsea would have done was sort out their goalkeeper and sort out the defense because it looks like they're still going in with the same defense and the same goalkeeper. And I think that's going to be your undoing because no amount of attacking prowess is going to save you when teams start to attack your team or when teams start to exploit the defensive vulnerabilities from the defense to the goalkeeper. I would have thought those would have been the first signings you would have made before you even entertain signing any more attacking players. But we'll see. It looks like I think Sanchez will probably still be your number one next season unless I don't know a goalkeeper is made available or an agent kind of makes Chelsea where hey this goalkeeper is available if you kind of for this particular price if you're interested. But I think it also leaves you short because Fia, I don't know if you have any other backup goalkeepers. Do you?
So Jurgensen is probably the next one in line, and I think he's played a lot of the Conference League games. He's actually not a bad goalkeeper. He's good,
Okay.
he's okay, but I think he's a lesser of two evils. He's like I'm basing my benchmark on Sanchez, so it's not like it's.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? So I think we need a solid goalkeeper, and I think the fact that we let Mamadashvili go to Liverpool, the fact that Keller has gone to Brentford, the fact that
mm.
we've allowed Petrovic to be sold for the price that we've allowed him to go for me, just that bit is bad business. That we've allowed key players to leave, and also we've allowed key targets, which in my eyes, Keller has probably still he's too good to be a number two at Liverpool, and I can get why he's wanted to go to Brentford to get first team regular football. So I think. I, I'll give Sanchez. I'll give him 2 months. I'll give him the September, and I'll give him up until let's just call it Halloween. I'll give him till Halloween, and at that point, if he's still making, because it's not that he's a bad goalkeeper. I think it's just his decision making is really poor, and I don't know if he has like brain fog where he just does all. I don't know. I don't know what happens, but he hasn't got the best concentration. I don't think as a goalkeeper, and I think I kind of get your point about the defense, but I feel like Tosin has come at leaps and bounds in the last 6 months. I think he's shown leadership. I think he's in the Club World Cup. I thought he was good as well. Colwell, I think he's still a work in progress. No. But just hear me out, man. Hear me out. I think Colwell, I think is always one error away when he's got the ball or the ball's coming towards him. I like Trevor Chalobah. My worry with Trevor Chalobah, I think he's going to be part of a deal. If we do try and get Eze from Crystal Palace, I think he'll be part of that deal.
Eze to play where?
Listen, I didn't want to bring it up, but this is what they're saying about we're contacting his agent, we're contacting his
Play
reps.
where? Oh my gosh! Do you know what? It's Chelsea. You know what, I'm not surprised.
Koja's not impressed.
Nah, you know, that one took me left field. I was like, wait, when do you guys want Eze?
It's
Okay,
like
now.
it's like FM. It's like FM, man. We just need
Literally,
to.
like FM. Just just grab the guy, man. Just bring him in. Buy this player, buy that player.
I don't think.
But no, on the point that you're making about the defenders, and obviously, I know Basil was like, obviously, he's not convinced by them. But how many defenders are we convinced by right now? So if Chelsea were to go and spend on defenders, there's no guarantee these guys would be
across the Premier League, like across football. You mean like world football?
across football. Like I know there are defenders out there that are good,
Kivior.
but there are also a lot of defenders that, again, is my issue with
Yeah, Kivior.
systematic. Huh?
Kivior.
You're a joker, man. You're one, man.
Upamecano, man. It's like Kivior. I get your point, though. No, I get your point. There isn't many, and I actually don't think. I mean, I haven't got the numbers here. I don't know how many goals we conceded, so I don't want to talk out of turn. But I don't think we were that bad defensively. I think it was a defensive mistake. It's going to sound like a mad statement, but I don't think we were that bad defensively. I think it was just the mistakes looked very horrific when we made them. That probably don't make sense to anyone else, but it makes sense in my head, so I'm going to say it again.
I was trying to figure it out. I can't lie.
You know when something's bad, but it's not like, look, I'm trying to dig a hole here. I'm trying to get out, but you know, like when. So I think there were individual errors, is what I'm trying to say. I think Colwell made a lot of individual errors. I think if you had a solid 2, which we didn't last season, we didn't have a consistent 2. We were swapping and changing. We lost Wesley Fofana, who I think is now a flight risk. I think he needs to be sold, or he's got one more season in him. But I think there has to be a consistent 2. I hate this swapping and changing of centre backs, and you don't build up a partnership. You don't build up consistency or nothing, no cohesion between 2 centre backs, and you need that. And if you don't get that, that's when your mistakes are always going to come. That's where Colwell doesn't understand when he's got to play the offside trap, or when he doesn't.
Yeah,
he done that so many times last season. Like the goals that we conceded, you look 9 times out of 10 they're either VAR checks because he's still keeping someone on side, or he's just got a lapse in concentration.
yeah.
So I think that's my point. So I was trying to make a little bit.
Well, still same one.
That's
Same
right.
one.
Yeah, I don't know. But we have to see, man. Before we move on, what do you think Chelsea's expectation should be next season?
Europa League.
No, Via, I'm going to answer the question. With all the money that Chelsea has spent,
Forget
What's-
the money, man.
no. Realistic. With
Forget
all
the
that
money.
money, what should they expect? Because I'm sick and tired of the fact that, they should get top 4, You cannot spend what Chelsea has spent. and just expect. Chelsea should, honestly, I say there's no excuse. Chelsea actually should be challenging for the league.
I
And
think,
that's it.
I think we will be. I think we will be this season. I think we will be.
I think a proper challenge, and I don't think Chelsea have to win it. Honestly, I don't think Chelsea. I think all they have to be, even if Chelsea finish
Define
fourth.
proper challenge, because Arsenal have been challenging. So define proper
Yeah,
challenge.
like Arsenal, you can fall
Okay.
short. Hesitate. Because what I'm going to say is, Chelsea don't even need to finish first. They can finish fourth, but
Okay.
as long as they're competitive and it's close,
I
for
agree.
most. Because you could do what Liverpool did, not this season, the season prior, when it was Arsenal, City and Liverpool, and Liverpool fell off in like the last 10, 11 games.
Yeah.
And so the points looked a lot wider. But really and truly, Liverpool were competitive that season. And in the end, people tried to make out that season like it was a two-horse race between City and Arsenal. In the end, it was. But remember, there was a time Liverpool was top of the table. I think last 10 or 11 games. It
Yeah.
was competitive. It just fell off a cliff in that last 10 again. So I think Chelsea should be, I think for me, Chelsea should be the same. It should be competitive. You can finish fourth, but you should be competitive for the most of the season where it's like, okay, we've got something to build on now. I don't think it's acceptable for Chelsea to have another season like what they had the season just gone. Because I think Maresca should be sacked if that's the case, because of how much money and resources he's had. No one has had the amount of players to play with in the way that Maresca's had in the league. So there's no excuses. Absolutely no excuses.
You agreeing with that, Kojo?
I'm just gearing up for a Chelsea Arsenal title race. Then I see it seems that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. All right, say no more. Okay, yeah,
I
man.
think we should be competing though, and I think we also have to caveat that we were. Remember, I didn't say this actually. I was the one that didn't say this, but everyone told me we were challenging last December. I'm just gonna throw that in there. Do you remember that conversation we had?
I
Remember?
remember.
Yeah?
You were there.
Yeah. So we had a good season, man. We got our objectives last season, so I can't be mad at that. We got our conference league, we got our trophy, and we got top four, and we just won the Club World Cup. Off the back of that, we should be challenging for the Premier League this season. I'm not saying we should win it, but we should definitely be pushing. If it's Arsenal, City, or Liverpool, we should be pushing them to the very end till April, May for that league. And that's where I see it this season, if I'm honest.
Because people, this is what people need to realize. The league is very competitive. Think about it, if everyone gets their act together, you potentially have 5, 6, maybe 7 teams who can push for a title.
The top six is the top six.
If everybody gets their act together. So, and what people need to realize is that there's a different, like Arsenal have let themselves down over the last 3 seasons because it's just been them and mainly one other team for 3 reasons. That's what they let themselves. But then you can't be mad at a team when if we get a season where 5 teams are competing and you fall short finishing 4th, 3rd, or 5th, if it's very, very competitive. Same as like how they've been, I think 2 seasons ago, where there was at one stage there was 4 teams pushing for that league title, and it was only in those last maybe 9 games where you started to see some of those teams tail off. But you can get that in the Premier League if everyone gets their act together, and then whoever wins, fair play to them. If you come second or third, it isn't in those circumstances. It isn't a bad thing because you say, "Hey, was that competitive? We just fell short." But at least it helps you build.
It's a building block.
Yeah.
100%, man.
Obviously, for Arsenal this time, there is no build. We've been building for the last 3 years.
Your
So
house
there's
is built, man.
no excuses with Arsenal.
You got
It's
the
time
extension.
it's time to furnish. As you said,
It's time to win something, man.
You've been to IKEA and back 3 times as well. So yeah, something needs to happen there now. We need to get some trophies on that shelf. But let's move on because there's been a lot of development with Liverpool and Newcastle this week. Alexander Isak, Ekitike going in the opposite direction now potentially. We spoke about it in the WhatsApp group this week. I still stand on the fact that I feel like Newcastle, although they haven't gained anything, they haven't also lost anything. And I think they'll take that going into the season if they keep Alexander Isak and he stays and Liverpool don't pay up the money that they want for him. Kojo, what do you think on that? What do you think on the whole transfer saga between Newcastle, Liverpool, trying to get their strikers in order?
I think it's a bit cheeky that Liverpool seem to think that they're guaranteed Isak next year because he's not coming this year. I also think it's cheeky that they think they've got the upper hand on this Ekitike thing because Newcastle were in negotiations and they pulled out because they didn't want to agree personal terms with the player. It wasn't the other way around. So they're not winning in this situation. And then thirdly, you're obviously now hearing that they've actually gone for Johan Wissa now. So less money spent, potentially, of course, maybe a lesser wage, but probably an easier deal considering Ekitike, the way Frankfurt obviously lost Mamouche last year. They don't want to lose him easily. So if he's going to go, he's going to have to go for premium money. Liverpool are putting this sort of story across that, they're running the streets here, and he's desperately looking to move and all that. That's not the case. It's just not the case. Like, I'll put it to you like this, right? Like, obviously, we have the main night and Mbeumo saga. At least with Mbeumo, you hear that, oh yeah, the player has sacked his agent. He's got a new agent in. He's not trying to put a transfer request in, but he wants to move. He's trying to make things happen. You've not heard a peep about what Isak wants. Probably because he's quite comfortable at Newcastle. He's back in the Champions League. Um, he's their main man. He's their number nine. You know, clubs like Newcastle, when they fall in love with a player kind of falls back in love with them. That sort of romantic sort of thing. I understand Liverpool are the champions and they feel a bit chesty, but you're not in control of the situation here. You're not running the streets here, and I think it's a very weird way for them to think that they automatically have him from next year. Now, here's the kicker: if they do get him next year, you're still paying premium buck. He's not going for less than 150 million pounds. So again, you're not exactly in control of the situation here. It's still Newcastle in control of the situation here. If he had a year left on his contract with no possible option for extension, oh yeah, then you can do what you want. But you're not in a position of power right now. So I just find it weird that they think they've kind of pulled down Newcastle's trousers. I think Newcastle have pulled down their trousers because Newcastle had a bid accepted for Ekitike, and Newcastle
No, it
didn't
wasn't.
agree with the player. Now Frankfurt can
No,
go to the.
the bid wasn't accepted. It was actually rejected because they wanted more.
Okay, there you go then. So it's even
Yeah, they
rejected.
wanted.
But even here, this. So okay, so that's the point then. You have made it very clear that you want Isak. Newcastle says he's not for sale. Frankfurt can go and say, well, if you've got money for Isak, you've got money for Ekitike.
That's what I was trying
Top
to
it
say
up.
yesterday.
You, they have pulled your pants
That's what I was trying
down.
to say yesterday.
So I don't understand why they think they're in position of power here. But I think Newcastle have played a blinder. I think they've done really well. Um, just a side note on Newcastle transfers. I just want to very, very, very much note that Eric Ten Hag to this day is still a criminal. And the reason why he's a criminal is because he wanted to pay £50 million for Sean Longstaff, and that guy has gone to Leeds for 12 million. Remember this, guys, yeah? When I was ranting all these times, I wasn't wrong. That guy is a criminal, and now he's saying that Anthony is like his son. Well, if he's your son, pick him up because right now you're a deadbeat. Go look after your son. But anyway, there you go.
So the White York. Oh my god. Oh my god.
I just realized.
Oh my god.
Dwight York's the most obvious deadbeat of them all. He's shocking.
50
He's
million
absolutely
pounds. I must have missed that one. 50 mil for Longstaff.
I did not miss it, bro. He wanted the player badly. Him and McTominay in midfield. I would have never done a podcast again. I promise you. I promise you.
That is crazy. That is crazy. It's Ten Hag all over though. But no, I generally think that Newcastle, like I said, they haven't gained much. What they have got is they've got a player that they can build quality around. And I was saying that yesterday. Basil, what do you think? Do you think that Liverpool will eventually end up with Isak eventually? Maybe not this season,
No,
but they could
no,
eventually
they
get him.
won't. Which is where Liverpool fans forget themselves, their club, and their history. I find them Liverpool fans sometimes are in a different planet to everyone else. First and foremost, the Ekitike, right? How much money are they gonna? They'll probably spend Darwin Nunes money on Ekitike, considering how Frankfurt are holding out. Because, like I said,
Mhm.
80 million euros was rejected by Newcastle, and that's Newcastle. So, as you said, now they know Liverpool's hand as to how much they were willing to spend on Isak. They're going to ask for 100 million euros or
Plus,
close to that for the player. Plus, so then, and then here's the thing: the Liverpool fans talk about, oh, we get Isak next season. I'm sorry, if you spend that much on a striker, when have Liverpool ever done back-to-back huge summer spending? They're gonna go back to what they've been doing prior, which is looking for cheap deals. I don't understand. As Coach has said, Isak will probably cost between 120 and 150 million, guaranteed. So what makes Liverpool fans think that Liverpool are going to go in next summer and then spend another over 100 million on a striker when they're potentially going to spend a lot of money on a striker? It's not the Liverpool way. That's what I said. If it was Chelsea, if it was City, wouldn't put it past them. Would not put it past them. Those guys will move heaven and earth just to bring quality to their club. Doesn't matter the cost. Liverpool are similar to Arsenal in terms of when they commit to spending a lot of money on a player in a position, they're not going to do it a second time around. And if they do, it's going to be a couple of years before they do so. So I'm very surprised when I hear Liverpool fans thinking, "Oh, we get Isak next summer." No, you don't. No, you don't. If you're going to spend a lot of your money, I think they already spent over 100 million on Verts this season.
Mm,
Another huge money on Ekitike. They've spent money on Frimpong. They've spent money on Kirkes. This is a lot of money in one summer. What makes Liverpool fans think that they're going to have a lot of money come the next summer to spend on players? I've always said, check their history. It doesn't happen. So Liverpool fans are in the moon if they think that, oh, we don't get Isak this summer, but we get him next. You're not getting him next season, to be honest. And in fairness, they have played their hand because by behaving in the way that they've done, I think it's left them very little room for negotiation when it comes to Ekitike. Because I think Frankfurt can kind of just say, well, if we've rejected 80 million euros for from Newcastle, what makes you think we're going to give you favourable terms? To be
yeah, it's
honest,
true.
what
It is
makes you
true.
think we're going to give you favourable terms? So I think Liverpool kind of played their hand a bit. Ultimately, it is a risk of a signing. I mean, the guy, I've watched him, he has attributes. His all round game isn't there because obviously you can look at the past when he was at PSG, didn't work out there. Obviously, he's had one good season at Frankfurt, but you're still paying on potential. So potentially you could get a very good player or you could get like another Darwin Nunes. Because let's not forget, when Liverpool signed Darwin Nunes, he scored a lot of goals for Benfica that season, which is why Liverpool paid a lot of money for him. And we've
Yeah.
seen how that's turned out over the last two seasons. So when people are very excited about this, I'm like, you need to be careful because it could be a fantastic signing if he develops well, or it could be another Darwin Nunez where he struggles. So it's a risk, but we'll
And
see.
and this is why I think that Isak. This is why I think Newcastle again are in a win-win because they've got a player that they know is Premier League proven. He knows how to score in the league. He can compete in the league. They can build, like I said, the quality around him. You bring someone in, and I'm talking from a Chelsea perspective here. You bring someone in from another league, it doesn't always work. It doesn't always work.
Yeah.
You're buying off, like you just said, Basil, potential. That potential is brilliant if
Mm.
it's in another league and it's working. But when they come to this another league and the adjustment, it doesn't always work. And Liverpool know that, like you said with Darwin Nunez, that it hasn't worked for them. It's funny
Mm.
because Liverpool fans, before these deals were done, if you remember, it was all FSG out, FSG out. I haven't heard one
Remember
Liverpool fan mention FSG at all, at all. And this is why I was saying to fans, not just like obviously people in the group, but wider than that. I was saying, is this FSG thing legitimate? Are you guys actually annoyed with your owners, or is it just because they're not spending?
it's not legitimate for you because they have backed the club, which is why I don't get Liverpool fans and I don't get what they want. If you compare it to Arsenal, right? Arsenal at times we have brought in a lot of bad players over the years, and there's times where we haven't invested when we should have. So I can understand when Arsenal fans are have problems with the Cronkies. Look at what FSG have brought to them: Van Dijk, Mohamed Salah,
Even like a McAllister,
Mane, McAllister,
Gravenberg.
Kanate, exactly, Robertson. They have brought them a lot of top quality players.
Yeah,
Liverpool fans, for me, they're entitled. I'm sorry to say, there's a section of them who are very spoiled and don't appreciate some of the good FSG. That's why whenever they said FSG, I've never understood. Yes, they may not have done things the way you want it, but they have backed the club and the manager when required, and you have had success over that time.
I was
So I've
just
never
about to say that.
understood when they complain about FSG when I'm like, well, FSG have done right things by you. I don't know. From the outside looking in, it looks like they've done it most of the time. Yes, there's times, they may have fallen short sometimes, but not everyone is perfect. There's going to be times where things don't work out. But overall, I think FSG have done like a very, very good job.
I agree with that, man. I think they've done an amazing job. To be fair, I think they've done things in their own way. Like you said, they've invested, and now
Mm.
that because of how they've done things, this has enabled them to be able to go and buy and spend this summer the way that they're spending. Had they done stupid, ridiculous signings every summer for the past 4 or 5 years, they wouldn't be able to spend as they're spending this summer. So I
Exactly.
think they have to put that into the equation when they're talking about their owners and all the rest of it. And like you said,
Even,
they've
even
been
Theo,
successful.
yeah, even Theo, let's even down to manager recruitment.
Yeah,
Bringing in
man.
Jurgen
Yeah,
Klopp, very good appointment. Then
yeah.
bringing in Arne
Arnie
Slot,
Slot.
who barely anyone knew. But that tells you about the due diligence they did
Hmm.
to bring in the man. Like I said, I think they've done a fantastic job, FSG, personally.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think they've done a fantastic job. I don't know if Kojo has a different view.
No, I mean, Liverpool. My. It's not a gripe, but I think Liverpool fans sometimes don't understand how lucky they've got it. in situations. Because even with that, we mentioned about Klopp and bringing in Salah and that. If they listened to Klopp fully, they would have Julian Brandt, not Salah. They'll be a different Liverpool. It's funny how things work. And when it comes to the subject of spending money, when you guys your players or your team spends big. I mean, Verts, the jury's out. We know he's a very good player, but we'll see how he adapts in this league. But you spend a big money on seems to be a top quality player. There is very little doubt about what quality he possesses. When you flip it on, like what the Glazers are, or even we can use the Kroenkes as well, because if you talk about like Anthony and you talk about Pepe,
Yeah.
the money spent for those guys, look at what they've produced for the clubs. You know what I'm saying? Little to nothing. And, in that situation, you got to count yourself a bit lucky, because the players you mentioned, I was like, oh, you know what? They've assembled a squad time and time again. They've actually assembled a squad. You lost your front three, and they backed the manager bringing in forwards. And I won't say Nunes hasn't been a success. Gakpo has been okay. Jota was a very good signing, because he was Premier League, so his goals just started flowing no problem. And anyone else that I think they've maybe I'm forgetting that they've had bring forward a young talent like Harvey Elliott, who's done very well at Liverpool, but maybe he's not got a future there.
Thiago too was a good sign. Unfortunate injuries kind of killed him, but
there you go.
You can see the quality.
There you go.
Even Endo for them has been. If you speak to Liverpool fans now, they appreciate what Endo comes into that team and does for them. Like, so
a good squad rotation. There you go. Not even just buying first, but also good squad players. Like even him, Harvey Elliott. Obviously, Harvey Elliott has in the ground, but they've been decent squad players and contributed when required in certain games in the season. So the squad, for me, overall, their squad building has been very good.
Yeah, there isn't another team that I can think of that has two number one goalkeepers in their team right now. That,
you know
you've got the ready-made replacement for Alisson right there. Like it's, you've still got Robertson, and they brought in Kirkes. Like, come on, guys.
And Simicast is still there.
Trent goes, Frimpong deal done immediately. No wasting.
Connor Bradley's waiting in the wings, waiting. So
you've got a team, man. You've got a team. You've got to be happy with what you've got sometimes, rather than complaining about what you don't have. You've got a lot. You've got a lot. You should be happy.
For now. For now. We know Salah's. We know the conversation about Salah. The conversations we was having last year about Salah. We'll be having them probably in another year or so. Don't think he's not going to Saudi. He will be going to Saudi at some point. But I'll be honest, I don't think Salah's even the be all and end all of Liverpool anymore. I think eventually what they will do, and they are starting to do this already, you can tell why they're looking at the transfer targets. They're looking to bring players in, and then they want probably Salah there, and they're going to phase him out gradually, and they have that really good transition. And that's a good thing. That's another thing you need to credit the club and the owners and the recruitment, the scouts, the coaches for, because they're doing it the right way. They're not getting rid of their players and then they've got gaps in the team. Like you both just said, it's like a conveyor belt. They're just bringing in. Even Ben Doak, I know he's been on loan, but he could easily fit into their squad this season. Jaden Dan's another one. They've got players that they could easily bring into that squad.
Rio, what's his surname?
Nganoma,
like him, they for Chelsea. Like he's also played the preseason game.
Yeah.
He's played one game last year, so he's another one where they can kind of phase him into the first team if he develops the right way. So, like I said, they're also thinking not just here and now, but also who are these future young players we can also become good squad players and obviously prove their worth over time. So they're kind of doing it the right way, and that's what it boils down to: right recruitment, which is where Arsenal, Chelsea, and Manchester United have been getting it wrong. Arsenal not buying the right quality. United overspending on players without any direction, and Chelsea just buying everyone without any strategic direction. That's why I put it for free, just to show you the different ways the clubs are operating. But then Liverpool are kind of doing it bit by bit and building that, creating that competition that allows them to be competitive. And I think, like I said, a lot of clubs can learn from how Liverpool are doing. You don't have to buy the world the way Chelsea are doing. You don't just have to just buy anybody just for the sake of making signings because we kind of want to be a bit cheap. And you don't just want to just buy in players just for the sake of, he's a big name, we'll spend a lot of money, or we think he'll do, without understanding how does that benefit the whole squad? So, and Liverpool kind of seem to find that right balance. And I'm a bit envious of how they go about their business
Same,
personally.
same. I think that's what shocks me when I hear people talk bad of the club, or the fans, sorry, talk bad of their owners because, like, I'd love that at Chelsea. Obviously, I'm glad that we've spent money, but we're kind of just spending it because we've got it, and it's not clicking, it's not working. So I'd rather we think smarter in the transfer market, in the transfer window, and actually buy players that are going to suit the way that we want to play going forward. And then you start thinking forward. We don't even do that forward thinking. We're just thinking of potential buys to then sell on. That's what we are now. We're a buy to sell club.
Yeah.
Whereas Liverpool are literally a club where they have ambition, they have a vision, they have a model, they have someone as a motivator in their coach. The
Yeah,
backroom staff, you can tell it's all like a family unit there. You
yeah.
can tell that. I'd love that at Chelsea. So I'm very, very envious of that. So this is why me and Liverpool fans, we argue.
Yeah, I would love that Arsenal, to be honest, to take away some of the power that our manager has in terms of some of the signings we bring in. To be honest, because I haven't been impressed overall, and I wish we had like people actually knew what they were doing, have the conversation with the manager, what do you need, and they go out and bring in those players, and then it's for the manager to figure out rather than the manager, unless you have proven talent ID as the
Yeah.
likes of maybe Wenger. Obviously, even coach. I don't know how much Ferguson was in terms of. I don't know whether Ferguson kind of just gave the sign off, yeah, just bring in the player, or whether Ferguson kind of.
No, so he had him and David Gill were like this. So they worked together on everything. They
Yeah.
identified players. The scouts did their job. They identified the players through watching clips and
Mhm.
going to watch games here and there. It's funny, the only two signings that he didn't have a say on, he trusted the scouts on, which were
Was it
after
was it
failures, were
was it Demba
Overton and
Jam?
Bebe.
That's
Maybe, yeah,
Bebe.
but yeah,
What? I
Yeah,
was gonna say
Overton and Bebe.
Jemba
No,
Jemba.
Jumba, he watched Jumba in African Cup of Nations. He was quite
Okay.
convinced by his performance because he had a good tournament. So he was hoping
Yeah.
he'll be
Was it
a
Bebe
good
that they
fit, but obviously
watched
that
like
didn't
one
work
game
out.
on like YouTube or I'm sure it was Bebe. They watched like one game on YouTube or like a little
So
clip.
no, so the scouts went to obviously go and watch this guy, and I remember he was saying that he was traveling to a European game, and they were like, "Look, this is a clip of him," and they obviously went to go and find a fantastic clip. So he said, "Oh, okay, he looks alright," but he didn't give like the yes, bring him in. But the clubs went to sign him anyway. So when they signed him, he was like, "I don't really know much about this guy, but fuck it, I'll use him in it." And well, the rest is history. But the saving grace is at least he did disappear into the matrix like I don't know, like a Fran Marino or something. He actually went to go and play La Liga football for a bit, so he was okay. He's okay in the end, but he was not ever United quality. So
so
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Sometimes have the structure of those who know it,
Yeah.
unless the manager has a proven good talent ID reputation where you can actually
mm,
trust him. And that's what I like Liverpool. Because same is like I remember, and I think Liverpool learned the lesson the hard way. Because I remember there was a quote. I can't remember who said the quote. Someone who worked at Klopp, who said, "Oh, they wanted to bring it. It was between Isak and I can't remember who it was. Was it Nunez? I think at the time." I can't remember. So Liverpool wanted to bring in Isak. It was between Isak and another player. This was before he went to Newcastle when I was at Royal Sociedad.
Okay.
And Klopp went for the other player. They went with Klopp's opinion. Like they recommended, say, hey, this guy is going to be a very good player. I remember I posted it in the chat. It was someone who worked at Liverpool at the time, and he did an interview and was saying like, yeah, they gave him Isak, maybe it was Nunez or someone. It was either Isak and Nunez or Isak and someone else. And Klopp went for the other player, and I think
damn,
it was Nunez, and it didn't work out. And obviously, that's when they said like, oh, sometimes it's not always good to kind of go with what the manager wants
Mm,
if you kind of know. And obviously, you can say look at what's happened between the two players there. So yeah,
mm. Interesting. I didn't know
damn,
that. I must have known it, but
damn.
I agree with that. Sometimes I think you got to remember the manager's not always right in terms of his transfers, and also the manager might leave.
yeah,
So
there you
so
go.
so, so what do you do then? You're left with a player that only the manager was kind of rooting for, and he doesn't fit with you. End up with a Bebe, so you got to go with the flow, man, and use your connections wisely. But we spoke about this next part of the podcast in the group yesterday. I've already got mine because you already know it, but I want you both to tell like the listeners one transfer that for your club that shocked you.
As in the history,
Just I'll go first. Like I said yesterday, mine when we saw William Gallas and we gained Ashley Cole, I was made up. You know what? I'll tell a lie. Tell a lie. No. I'll tell a lie. Actually, at first I
So,
wasn't made up. I wasn't. One,
oh,
we were,
that's
we were,
surprising.
we were science because we just hated Arsenal at the time. We still kind of do a little bit, like in terms of fan base rivalry and all that. Not like us, me on the pod, but I didn't like Ashley Cole because he was Arsenal. To me, he was just Arsenal.
Yeah,
Mm.
and and at the time as well, William Gallas actually wasn't that bad. He was actually well, he still is. He still had
it
a
was
really good
good
career,
for
but
them.
he was a good defender. He was really good. So we were lose. I felt like we were getting like the shittier end of the stick a little bit. I was like, what's going on here? And then I'm sure we gave Gallas and money. I'm sure we did. And I was thinking, now how's this working? Like we're losing one of our best players for Ashley Cole, but then. Like I said yesterday, one ended up at St Andrews crying in the middle of the pitch. Do you remember that when he had the meltdown?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I no, that was ridiculous.
And what number did he have? Well, yeah, didn't he have a mad squad
Yeah,
number at Arsenal?
yeah,
Yeah.
number 10.
Number 10, that was it. I was thinking he had number 10. I feel like he had like 99, but I feel that was like Ronaldinho. But yeah, Ashley Cole went on to be, for me, arguably, if not the best left back in the Premier League, or
Yeah, I
one of
agree.
the best. He went on to do leaps and bounds. So I felt like the transfer shocked me, but he shocked me in a good way in the long run as well.
Mm.
Do you get what I'm saying? I
For me,
enjoyed.
Theo, it's a hard question to answer because we've had we've committed so many criminal offences when it comes to shock factors. Honestly, like first and foremost, like no, so many. Like that Gallas Ashley Cole one was one of those because it was the start of a horrible relationship with Chelsea,
Yeah,
and
that's what started it. That
it was
generally was the start.
that's what started it. Like we've had like people forget if I just use Chelsea, we took Yossi Benayoun from you, and he did absolutely nothing from us.
We've had
Like we've
half our team.
yeah, we've had so many bad players. I mean, like I said, not even with Chelsea. We bought Mikel Silvestre from United. He was a
I was
horrible.
just gonna say that one. That one rattled me.
That one was a horrible signing. Horrible signing, Mikel Silvestre. Even when we did the swap deal with Sanchez and Mkhitaryan, that was another
Yes.
horrible deal.
Yes.
I
Oh
mean,
my
I
god.
forgot
that's the
about that.
reason why I can't even quantify it to one, Theo.
Yeah,
We've
no,
had
you're
some
right, man.
diabolical shockers in our time. I mean, even like I can even go as far back as when we bought in who's that midfielder that we bought in who was injured? I've forgotten his name.
Oh, Kallstrom.
Carlson, there you go. That one was probably one of the
Ah, I
most.
forgot you, Adam.
He wasn't fit when we signed him. He had, I think, a
He had a
back injury.
broken back.
It was a bad injury.
He had a broken back and we signed him, and he missed most of the season for us. That season we signed him because of that injury, and we all knew he had an injury problem, and they brought him in. Then we've had too many shockers for me to
Yeah,
quantify it
it's true.
as like just one.
Hellstrom, man. I forgot about that. I forgot about him. What about you, Kojo? You must have a couple in United. The
Yeah,
United history
boy.
books.
But you know what? The first one off the bat is Maguire. That's the first one off the bat. But
Yeah,
you rattled me about that one. You rattled me that one. It's when I found out that there was no installments, there was no clause. We just went to
Oh,
them
was it
and we
straight
just gave them 80 million. There you go, mate.
in the duffel
Whoa,
bag? Literally, just gave it to
whoa,
you.
bro.
Oh my gosh!
That one rattled my heart.
Straight cash.
Straight cash.
Oh
Straight
my!
cash.
Oh my!
That one took my breath away. Oh my
Oh
god.
my! Oh my!
What's the other thing I was thinking of earlier? In a good way, Berbatov,
Yes.
because he
yeah.
was going, he was city bound, and I remember watching Sky Sports, and they were saying, "Oh, Man City officials have allowed at the airport, but he's nowhere to be found." I was like, "Right, did the guy get jacked or something? What's going on?"
I remember that transfer though. I remember like because it was late in the night, wasn't it? It was like one
It
of
was
those
very
late,
late, very last
very
Very
minute.
late.
late, yeah. And then Sky Sports were doing like a stream outside Old Trafford, and then they clocked him walking up
Walking
the top.
across. Yeah.
They were like, wait, yo! I was like,
But those were the days when like
Yeah,
transfers were good then because you had no Fabrizios or no one like that to.
no,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
what happened? Yeah, Coach, I've got a question. What about, I guess, an exit? What about the Tethers deal? Did that
Oh
shock?
yeah. No, see that one, yeah. But that one didn't shock me.
Oh,
It
did you
shocked
find?
me. It shocked me when it happened. But
Yeah,
there was rumblings in the United fan base about him talking to City from like February.
Mm.
So it was a case of don't you effing do it, and
And
then
did
he
it.
did it. I'll tell you what rattled everybody. It was that Welcome to Manchester picture. Listen, that one, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
yeah,
Oh, that
yeah.
one, oh my gosh, that one rattled me to my core. And I'm not even from Manchester. That got me. That one threw me. Oh my days. Um, but yeah, those are the ones. You mentioned Sylvester. On Sylvester, yeah. I'll tell you this. Obviously, Basil knows my cousin Mark.
Yeah.
I remember that transfer happening, and I went to his house, and Mark looked at me and said, "Hey, this is the day that my club died." I went, "What?" I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Bro, we signed Sylvester from you." I was like, "Yeah, but you're not dead." He goes, "No, no, 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 we're done. We're done. We're done."
I think a lot of Arsenal fans felt that way when we were signing for, because it was like it's the same as like similar vibes to when we were signing Noni Madueke in terms of the fan
Yeah.
reaction, in terms of people couldn't believe, people were like, no, 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 this can't be happening. Then you hear it happening, and then people are like, this better not happen. And then it happened. And, and yeah, a part of us died that day when, when we saw Mikel Sylvester signing for Arsenal because he was over the hill. He
Mm.
was over the
Yeah.
hill, and we couldn't believe like what was the purpose of signing him. But oh,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
when
You
you
know
get
what?
them.
That's sorry. That's why when Arsenal fans scream about Wenger a little bit, sometimes I don't talk because even with Mark after that, yeah,
yeah.
we didn't watch United and Arsenal. That used to be a thing. I used to go to his house watch United versus Arsenal religiously, and then I didn't watch with him for a period of time. And then the one game I managed to get to watch with him,
Not that ain't no.
it was the 8-2, and
8-2 sweat.
even on that day, for about an hour, he was saying, "Why are you making me come? There's no point of watching this match." I was like, "It's gonna be a game, man. Let's go watch it." Like genuinely, I was like, "No, let's go watch the game, bro. Like, come on, man." He said, "Nah, we're gonna get popped." I was like, "No, you're not. It's United Arsenal." He was so right. He was so right. Wenger calls you guys some damage, man. He calls you guys some damage. Real talk.
Yeah. I can't think. I was gonna say like maybe because you had like Schweinsteiger as well. I know they weren't bad signings, but they
They,
weren't
they,
like,
yeah,
I think that
they were shocking how they ended, but
yeah.
not
Sorry, that's
shocking
what I
when
meant.
yeah,
Not when you
they
signed them, but
arrived.
how they
Yeah,
ended. Did
yeah.
how did I can't remember how Falcao played for you? Was he good?
Falcao was okay.
yeah.
It's just
I can't
we
remember.
signed him.
Okay.
We signed him when he was in the midst of a ACL injury. Well, no,
Yeah,
the tail end of it.
yeah,
So when he
yeah.
came back, he wasn't the same. So obviously, you need to with ACL. Some obviously with any footballer, you need to give him some
Yeah,
time to get back
take
up to
time.
speed. But he was sort of thrusted in quite quickly, so he never really got up to speed. So you saw the best of him when he went to Monaco eventually, and then he started doing his thing again. But yeah, we got him at a bad time. But I don't think he was a bad signing. He was alone anyway, so that one
Yeah, but the fee, did you
doesn't
have? I'm
really.
sure there's a mad fee assigned to the loan. That's why I remember.
No, we paid 5 million for the loan, which is to be fair, it's a match fee for a loan
It's
deal.
a
But
mad fee for a loan.
yeah, for a loan deal. But no,
Can't downplay that. What are you doing?
no. But the reason I'm downplaying this because the original fee they wanted us to pay was ludicrous. They wanted us to pay around 25 million for a loan, and then another 25 million later. Similar to Tevez. Like Tevez, the reason why United pulled out so quickly of making him permanent is because we had to pay his club and then we had to pay his agency
Oh,
almost
yeah,
like
agent, yeah, because he had that.
48 million.
He had that mad agent.
Yeah, because he had that joint owner, he had that
Yeah,
joint own, he had that ownership things that some of these South Americans do. I don't
yeah.
know if they have anymore.
And we're like, no, we're
Have at
not
the
paying
time.
that. That's spooky. It's weird. We're not paying
Mm,
that. Whereas City just said, "All right, we'll pay that." So, yeah, here's what it is, man.
bit mad, bit mad. But let's keep it on United before we wrap up. Because you still ain't got that deal done. Us every week we do this pod, the deal still ain't done for
It's
Mbeumo.
all not done. Yeah,
It's still not done. But
but
the new
but this
bid
is
new bid's gone in now, 65 plus 5 mil.
mm,
What happens after this? Do United need to walk away?
oh, if they say no to it, let's walk away. Yeah, because they've kept moving the goalposts. At the beginning, it was 60. Then it was 63 million. Then they got offered 63 million pounds, and then now they've upped it to 70 because they've obviously he's got a year left in his contract, but they've obviously dangled in the
Wait,
face the
wait,
fact that they've got.
he's only got a
Huh?
year.
No,
He's
no.
only got a
So
year.
no. So to caveat on that, contractually, it looks like he's got a year left, but the club have the option to extend it.
But they have
So
to
Oh,
they're
okay.
extend.
going to extend.
Are they
Yeah.
going
So
to?
that's why they. Yeah. Oh no, but
Okay,
if it doesn't go anywhere, they'll trigger it because they're not gonna lose it for free. That's just a guarantee. It's not his choice. It's the club's choice.
No.
So
But at the moment, as it stands today, which is what the 18th of July, they haven't triggered that extension. So
no,
if
no.
you're
So
meant to
yeah.
get
So that's but no, no. But that's the game they're playing. This is the whole point I'm making. They went from 60 to 63 to 70 because they're saying if we reject the bid, we're going to trigger it. Once you trigger it, you have to pay over the
so it's
odds.
forcing United's
So we're
hand a
pay,
little bit.
exactly. So
yeah.
we're saying 70. We're saying
Mm.
70 or bust now. That's it. So we made you the final offer. You accept it or you don't because
I've never heard that
we need.
terminology you just used before. By the way, in that context. It's all right.
Yeah.
Carry
No.
on.
Yeah. But yeah. No. But that's what it is. So we'll see. We'll see if we get him. I mean, Amrim obviously wants him because he fits the Brett. Oh, 1 second. The style that he wants to play. But yeah,
No,
it's a difficult deal. I'm being called. 1 second. Sorry.
what do you reckon?
I think, I mean, yeah, 70 million. Brentford would be very stupid to reject that
Okay,
kind
give
of
me a
money
second.
because I think it's a more than fair price. I'll say it's
So
even
that's
more.
I run. I run. Yeah. Sorry.
That's fine, Gojo. I think it's more than they deserve for the player, or more than what the player is worth. To be honest, if I'm being brutally honest, I
Mm.
think he's a very good player. I think he can.
Oh, he
I
is.
think he can be like a very effective player for United. But then obviously, I was looking at a few people and their comments on it. It made me question how are they going to fit him in if Amorim wants to play
That was
this
my
five
question.
at the wing back because he doesn't play with wingers.
That was my question.
So yeah, so I question. Okay, you're going to sign Mbeumo, but where are you going to play him? You can't because it'll be very. I can't see because it'll be crazy to spend that kind of money to have him playing what the same role Ahmad was playing last season as a wing back because he's not a wing back, and you
No.
lose a lot when you're having to do those wing back duties.
Mm.
So I sit there and I was like, I don't know how I don't know how he's going to fit in that system if they sign him. That's my only worry about it. If he was playing a traditional 4-4-2 or 4-3-3, I see exactly where he slots in, and I think he can
Do you
be a
think he
great
might
player.
do that though? Do you reckon he might change things tactically? Because this is what I was thinking throughout this whole thing is does he change things tactically because he did kind of stick with that formation last season and it didn't really work for him. They finished 15th, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
So is he thinking now I need to change something in order to get the best out of this team? Because I
I,
agree with you, 100%. I agree.
I don't think he will. He might do, but I don't think he will because I look at how what he did throughout the whole of last season, and he stuck to that
He was
formation even when
stubborn.
it wasn't. He was stubborn, so it makes me think. Well, if he's done that throughout the whole of last season to his detriment, I can't see him changing it for
Mm.
the beginning of next season.
But
So, but I think Brentford will accept it. To be honest, I think it will be absolutely ludicrous if they reject 65 million plus 5 million.
I agree. But then I didn't know about the contract situation. So not that it
Hmm.
changes anything really, because it shouldn't. But if they don't accept it and they trigger the
Yeah.
extension, the question I suppose I'll ask is, do you reckon they'll get that sort of? I don't think they will, but do you reckon they'll get that sort of fee offered for a year later? Probably not.
Ab- Absolutely not. They'll probably get half of that money a
Yeah.
year later because, like I said, clubs when a player's in the last year of their contract, clubs are gonna they will hold out for as long as they can.
Mm.
The only way they can probably get that money is if it becomes very competitive and there's about 3 or 4 clubs and that will be determined. Let's say it says at Brentford how good of a season he has at Brentford. If he has another fantastic season at Brentford, they may recoup that money back because you may then get a thing where it's 3 or 4 clubs in for him,
Yeah.
and one club and maybe one or two of them say, "Hey,
Bidding
we
war.
can't afford to lose him. Yeah, bidding war. We can't afford to lose him trying to hold out on the fee because if they really want him and they go for him, it's an
Mm.
opportunity lost." So it depends.
I think we've got to factor in the fact that if Weiser does go to Newcastle as well, though, they've obviously lost
They've
Ivan
lost
Tony.
basically lost all their players.
Do you know what I
That's
mean?
the
So
thing.
maybe that's why I'm thinking on the other side from a non-United point of view. If they lose him, and they do, because surely only one out of the two can go. I know they kind of play different roles, but only one out of that two can go. They lost Tony last season.
I think I think they can sell them both, and the reason why is because they bought a striker last season who was injured for most of the season.
Wasn't he? He was good as well. He started the season well. I remember watching him in pre. I'm
Yeah,
sure I watched him.
yeah,
Is he? He was South
yeah.
American. What was his name? I can't remember his name
Yeah,
now.
I can't remember his name, but I mean, he was injured. So they do have him to come back. And then obviously they're linked to Amari Hutchinson. So maybe that could alleviate them. The potentially, and I think Amari Hutchinson's a very good player, a very good player with potential. It's not all there yet. I think
Mm,
because I think he can dribble. Obviously, he's naturally both-footed. He can dribble. His end product is what kind of lets him that. Well, decision on end product,
yeah,
decision making is what lets him down.
yeah.
And I think he's still young enough where we can work with him on that. They also have like the player from Liverpool that they bought, which is Carvalho, which they spent a
Oh yeah,
lot of
yeah,
money on. Barely going to get. So that needs to kind of work out. Obviously, like I said, it's a new manager, so maybe this new manager can utilize
yeah.
some of those players that
I
Frank
forgot. I forgot that
didn't
as well.
use. So that's the reason why. So I think they can afford to let them go because if that new striker comes back to fitness, they get back working. If they go and buy Amari Hutchison, that's another young replacement for Mbeumo that they can work with.
Mm,
So it can alleviate the losses of those two players because of some of the players that they do have. And they still have players like Sade who can play on the wing. So they have some
yeah,
players there who
it's true.
can help them out if they lose those two players. But like I said, they just need to make sure that they maximize as much money as they can, so that at least, and if they need to reinvest, they can reinvest it effectively.
Mm. I don't know if I worry about Brentford this season. I was thinking about them after the
You
Ivan
could,
Tony
yeah.
sell.
Hmm.
I
No, I knew Ivan Tony so would be a good thing for them because I think Ivan Tony held them back. And the reason why I say that is because it was such a predictable one way of playing
yeah,
because
yeah.
they basically built that team to cater to
Throw the
Ivan
ball
Tony,
to
and
him.
I felt that didn't help them because then they couldn't adapt. I
Yeah,
felt with him leaving and with the movement of Wissa and Mbeumo because they're a lot more mobile than Ivan
yeah, yeah.
Tony.
100%.
I thought that would benefit them. I thought that would benefit them in the season when Ivan Tony left. So I didn't see the Ivan Tony sell as a loss. I thought, oh, that's actually a game because you can actually adapt a
Mm.
little bit in a way you didn't with
But
Ivan
if they
Tony.
lose Mbeumo or Wisa,
It's a risk.
then I worry about them because I think they're coming with a new manager. It's not like they got Thomas Frank there who can kind of get the last bit of juice out of the berry sort of thing. I think
Yeah,
if and again I'm sort of like very hypothetical because they could go on and have a really good season. They when we did those previews last season, I watched some of those back. I was completely wrong with half the things I
yeah,
was saying at the start of last season. But I just think about them now. They've lost a lot of attacking threat. I think
mm,
Mbeumo and Wisa are very good players, and I'm not saying that they're too good for Brentford, but I do think they need to test themselves at a higher level.
I agree. I agree. And people, and I'll go back to Newcastle because what people don't. I'll say Newcastle. What people always assume Newcastle only have one striker because Callum Wilson has left.
Yeah, yeah,
And this is what people. So when people are talking about Newcastle, oh, they signed Ekitike to replace Isak. I'm like, no, no, no. They need another striker because if Isak gets injured, there's no one
who
else.
they playing?
They want to have someone who can come on, also plays a two of him, come on and replace him whenever he needs a rest, or someone who can push him.
Yeah,
And then secondly, if Isak's not available, you have another striker, which is why Newcastle are in the market for another striker because they
yeah,
only have one. And same, Vissa's another one, which is why they're potentially looking at Vissa because like he's a good replace. He's a good kind of second striker where we know he can play as a two because we've seen it with Tony.
yeah,
We know he can play as a one and get goals because we've seen it at Brentford. But we also know that he's a good rotational player. So
yeah,
we like he's happy to start matches, but also happy to kind of know there's certain games you need to play a role on the bench.
yeah.
And it's a good backup replacement for Newcastle to have, or a good second option to have.
Mm. I feel like they do some good business. I feel like they're another sort of not in the not comparing the two clubs, but I feel like they do some very good business, like Liverpool do. They try and bring in the right players, and they get things. I look at like Tonali, Gumares,
Mm,
and all those sort of players. Even bringing in like a Lewis Hall. Like I know he's not been electrifying for them, but he still does a job for them. Livramento. So they
yeah.
even when they brought Anthony Gordon, I wasn't really sure, but he's been
So
all right
yeah,
for them. He's been a good player for them.
I'll say this because Newcastle are very smart in terms of what they haven't done is what I guess City, Chelsea, and
Yeah,
PSG
they
have
haven't just threw money
done.
at it.
Yeah, where they have like rich owners who've come in and just spent money. Oh, we want the fancy names. Doesn't always work that way. And obviously, you saw what happened at PSG. They got the fancy names, didn't work, and they had to tear that down and start with a different type of project. There's like young, exciting prospects. I think Newcastle have gone in and said, "Hey, we're buying players who are effective for the team.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
not going to go out and just say we're going to buy, I don't know, like a Messi type player or something." It's like, no, no, no. We're buying players who are effective for the team. So it was a completely different strategy. I think Newcastle kind of understand where they are in terms of, and I don't want to use it, they understand where they are in terms of the food chain. You can't
yeah,
go
yeah,
out and buy lavish players like a United, a Chelsea, a Arsenal, Liverpool, and City. But we buy those of players who are effective for us to help us compete. And I
yeah.
think that's kind of, they kind of understand their market and where they are, and they're buying effectively in that mid-range market.
And I agree with that because they got a trophy at the end of it.
Yeah,
I'd probably not disagree with that, but because I can agree with it because you can see the results at the end of the season. You
yeah,
can see that whatever they're trying to build and they're trying to do under the manager, it's working. And I think it goes back to that point about FSG and Liverpool and how they're set up and how they're running. They're doing it. They're building. They're building exactly like
yeah,
how they should be as a club. So, yeah, I think they'll do well if they get Whistle. I think they'll do, and obviously to keep Isak. I still think they need areas of the pitch where they need to maybe
100%.
bolster, but I think they've got the core quality that they can then build around, and that's the key thing I was saying yesterday in the group chat was that if they keep the quality in that team, that'll be a problem.
Yeah. I think the only thing that may go against Newcastle is I don't think they don't seem, and this how they don't seem to have like the upstairs structure for recruitment. It doesn't seem as mature as maybe some of the bigger clubs. Like, and I'm not going to use Chelsea now, but Chelsea the past when you had who was it? Who was the woman who
We had
was doing those
Marina
deals?
Granoscalo.
Yeah, there you go. Where you had and that seemed to be an effective policy there. Or
Yeah,
like City had Tixi, I forgot his surname.
yeah, yeah,
When they had the guy with Pep. Liverpool seem to have their kind of recruitment. I think that's kind of where Newcastle are not there yet. They don't seem to. It doesn't seem like they have the structure yet there from a recruitment policy that those established clubs have yet. And if
yeah,
Newcastle get that right, there could be a problem because I do think with the way they do kind of do their transfers, they can compete here and there, but I don't think will be consistent. So they could drop off next season to like
yeah,
finishing eighth or ninth, and then be back up up there again in the following
yeah.
season. So it's not there for the consistency yet because they need to get that right. But yeah, watch this space.
No, they need to. I agree. They need to get upstairs sorted, and I think if they
Yeah,
do that, things will click. But I think even after springboarding off winning a trophy last season, I think that will help them. I really do.
yeah,
And if they keep Isak, I think that for me is the key thing. Keep him
I think they will keep him because, like I said, well, I know he's not getting the season because they've got Champions League. There's no way
exactly,
you're going to that competition selling your best asset. And listen,
exactly.
and on the back of winning your first trophy in 70 years, absolutely not. And I think if he goes, it depends on what happens with contract negotiations. If they offer him a lot of money, which I assume they will from a wage perspective, and he signs, he's going nowhere. If he holds out his heels because from next season he'll have 2 years left on his contract, then a whole different conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And if they do, they'll slap a new release clause in there. So I'm just saying, you never know. You
Yeah,
never know. We
yeah.
have to.
Yeah, in
Liverpool will
fairness,
have to.
that's probably the safest way to do it. Say, we'll give you this money, here's a release clause, 150 million. If
Yeah,
anyone wants
easy.
him, that's the
Easy.
price you pay.
And let's see if Liverpool cough up the money for 150 million. I doubt they will. I doubt they will.
Yeah,
But yeah, we'll have to
exactly.
see, man. But Basil's always pleasure. Kojo had to obviously, if
100%.
anyone's listening on the audio, Kojo had to leave us for the back end of the episode. So I'm sure he will also be back next week. We will be back. Enjoy the weekend. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, all that good stuff if you're on YouTube, and we'll be back soon.